It is the best weekend of the year.
You go to places that you would never otherwise have an opportunity to go to in this epic country of ours.
It's an institution in our family, like something you've just grown up with, something that's like rooted in everything you do.
It's just the adrenaline rush. It's all for such a great cause. The Aberdares and the mountain.
The fundraising, right? That's a part of it. And going through all these hills and rocks and rivers. So they were fun, yeah.
The first weekend of June has become synonymous with the annual Rhino Charge, an adventurous off-road event that gathers like-minded enthusiasts, friends, families and intrepid conservationists together to raise money for the Rhino Arc Kenya Charitable Trust and their ongoing work to protect Kenya's mountain water towers. This is the 35th running of the event, which has raised billions of Kenya shillings for the cause. The impact of the fences built to safeguard these precious mountain ecosystems is clearly visible, not just from an environmental perspective, but also from the communities who border them. In 2024, the Rhino Charge headed to its most southerly venue yet, close to the Tanzanian border and hosted by the Maasai community of Torosay. These rangelands provide an important corridor for wildlife traversing between Amboseli and the Masai Mara. Supporting local communities with their conservation efforts is just one of the factors that influences where the event takes place each year. Heavy rain in the months leading up to the event meant the area was lush and green with thick bush and stunning scenery. This year, headquarters and the camp would be situated on a wide sand lugger that would also provide one of the main arteries through the venue. Pre-event scrutineering kicks off the charge and is where the community comes together to inspect each other's cars, catch up on stories and revel in the buzz as the excitement heats up.
It's not your car behind you.
No, it's not. It's a lesser car.
What are we looking at?
We're going to do a swap this year. We're going to see if it's really about the car or about the team. So Gray's taking mine and I'm taking his.
We like borrowed cars though.
You're good at borrowed cars. So it might not be a good idea, but
He's one in a borrowed car.
he's one in a borrowed car. Let's see if you can do it again.
So once a year, it's one-off. You look forward to it for about 4 months out. Every year it's the same, but it's unique at the same time. It's fantastic. Can't get enough of it.
Just the whole atmosphere, the organization, the people we meet, and the fact that we're doing something worthwhile for society, raising funds for animals, conservation, people. What more could you ask for?
The demanding work of fundraising and preparing the cars is now over, and it's time for the competitive side of the event to get underway.
There are so many facets and so many things about the charge that I like. One is the build-up of adrenaline as you head towards the charge. Everybody finishes the charge and puts their car away. But March, April and May is hectic. That buzz just gets me on a high. The next thing is about seeing all the people together that you see nearly only once a year. And it's about the charge day. It's about getting into the car the next day and charging.
It's also a great excuse to bring the family out into the bush, have a bit of fun with our cars, do some silly things and just generally have a bit of fun.
I think for me, it's actually driving in sort of uncharted terrain, not knowing where you're going. Building the car, I love that. It's a year-round event for me. And my family is just sort of obsessed with it. My daughters, it's just part of our life.
The officials run through the checks to ensure all cars meet the regulations applicable to their respective classes and that the strict safety rules have been complied with.
4-point front. Do you have any seatbelt at the back?
In 2024, the half charge was introduced to encourage new competitors to take part. Only cars in the unmodified category were allowed to enter, and teams would have to complete just 8 of the 13 guard posts. 2 new teams, Car 17, the Pumba Patrol, and Car 58, Batuk, had signed up for the half charge, which would still prove to be a tough challenge to complete.
It's 80 series from our camp. We put some big tires and a cage outside and we come. So no diff lockers, nothing. It's just, if you go inside, it's still, the AC still works, the vents work, everything is there, the door cards are there. Yeah, so it's actually just a nice car, so yeah.
This year also welcomed a new all-ladies team, Zambarao Heels on Wheels, who after years of being supporters, decided it was time to tackle the charge themselves.
Getting the experience, getting this car back to Nairobi as is, not breaking it down, because it's quite an affair anyway to put it together. It's our first experience, our first charge, so we hope to have an easier time, a good time. We're doing the full charge. We didn't chicken out to do the half. We're doing the full charge. We're ready for it.
Once all the checks are done, the driver's briefing takes place at the Whitecap Bar. Event director Don White welcomes the teams with some strong words of advice.
The first and foremost thing is heat. It's stinking hot. It will be very hot tomorrow. And I was told by the doctor that heat stroke causes irrational decision making and aggression. So that sounds like a normal day. This year's charge, we've designed it in such a way you can make it as hard as you want or as easy as you want. So please pick your battles carefully. If you want to finish, easy, go for it. There's not many penalty roads, so pick your battles carefully. And if you want to compete for a place on the podium, which will be just here, good luck.
Finally, the team receive their maps and head back to camp to begin plotting their route for the following day. There are 13 guard posts with GPS coordinates that teams must attempt to reach via the shortest distance possible in under 10 hours. New entrants from the Batuk camp would be hoping their training would give them an edge when it came to plotting the map and reading the terrain.
Suddenly what Don said about, do you want to finish or do you want to contend and be on the podium is coming into stark contrast. Do you try to go over that thing or do we just hit the lugger and go around it? And it's sort of having debates about that at the moment. Some of this looks very difficult to go in a straight line.
Seasoned veterans and four-time winners, the Bundu Fundis, know all too well that the decisions made here could determine their chances of winning the next day.
It's massive, that. Really shot a bit. Agreed? Yeah. I think it's a lot of it's having seen this 28 times as a team. Looking at maps in previous events, understanding what we can and can't do from previous events. Remembering that, and then just brainstorming like we are as a group, looking at different options, looking at the obvious trails, not so obvious trails, always having an option out, so that if you're behind time or something, you're not faffing on the day, spending 20 minutes looking at an option out, you've got something planned in advance, so little things that save time on the day, basically.
As the sun sets and the campfires flicker in the night, we take a quick look at the various routes planned by some of the competitors. Satellite imagery may give some clues to the main obstacles out there, but thick bush, hidden gullies and rocky inclines also await, ready to catch out any unwary teams. Pre-dawn on June the 1st, and teams line up to be led out to their respective starting points. The excitement is electric in anticipation for the day ahead. As teams move out towards their starting control, they get a first chance to see what lies ahead. At Gridless, Team Oli Choda lined up to start with 3 generations of the family taking part this year.
How long have you been doing this event now?
This is my 34th year.
34 years?
Yeah.
And how old are you now?
77.
77 years young?
Yeah.
Still going strong?
Still going strong.
That's awesome.
There's a moment of calm at the controls as the teams perform final checks, ponder if their previous night's planning matches the terrain, and runners begin to scout the routes ahead.
I'll be honest with you, mate. Yeah, the anxiety, the stress levels, the anxiety levels go pretty high when it comes to that charge time. Yeah, because there's so much unexpected, so much you don't know. That's good.
Follow what the navigator tells me, and that's it.
Tempers will flare with this heat.
Not really. Initially, first control when it's cool, but then everyone will calm down, get in the rhythm.
Best of luck out there.
Thanks.
The countdown is broadcast across the radio channel to each control, and at precisely 7:30, the 2024 Rhino Charge gets underway. The Satao guard post was situated on one of the highest points of this year's venue, offering spectacular views. However, the surrounding slopes were covered with loose boulders, and many of the teams starting here decided to use the road as they set off to tackle the charge. The Braeburn Sevens, however, opted to take the more direct route as they charged towards Gridless. Having been forced to miss the event in 2023, they were chomping at the bit to get going. Team Aussie Rules were the first to arrive from Gridless, using the road to climb the hill. They would concede 400 metres to the Braeburn Sevens. Across at the Copycat guard post, Team 1 and Team Husey were starting their day heading towards Flower Watch. Team 1 wisely allowed Husey to lead the way, thus shaving a little distance off each turn.
Okay, so we just want to
it might be best to follow them for a bit longer.
Okay.
At some point we're going to have to go up, but this isn't the peak to go up.
Team Husey got wise to this and pulled up to allow Team 1 past before following them in a similar fashion. In the end, Husey would take the advantage by 8 metres. Mantec was similarly situated on the top of a hill, providing another tough challenge whichever direction you approached from. Opening the route to Flower Watch, the Low Rangers would be forced to pull out their rear winch as they descended the steep hillside slope. It was interesting to note that all the teams that started the day from Mantec chose to tackle the route in an anti-clockwise direction, which demonstrates the effect each starting position has on a team's decision-making. Like the Low Rangers, Team 26 and Team Moto Moto also descended the steep hill towards Flower Watch before reaching the gentler slopes below, which were covered in beautiful wildflowers. Regular winners of the unmodified category, the Gumtree 4x4, had started at Ocean Agriculture and were making such good time they even had the opportunity to enjoy the view.
No, it's really nice. What's the time? About 8:30 on a lovely sunny Saturday morning. And what more do you need? Look at the vista, for God's sake. It's beautiful. Nothing else you need.
Another regular in the unmodified class, the Hog Charge team weren't to be outdone, strapping on their rear winch to descend the hill.
Oh, hang on, stop. Okay, you good?
The Bush Rovers were the first team to tackle the ascent to Satao from Slater and Whitaker, the long grass hiding the countless boulders that encircled the control. Jeepers Creepers and the Aber Daredevils opted to climb the hill on the road, saving time to tackle other challenges later in the day. Team Batuk 58 was taking part in the half charge, but sadly their challenge would end after Satao, when their car gave up the ghost. Team 5 was the first to arrive from behind the control, having taken a good line up the hill from Slater.
Yeah, hidden luggers, lots of big trees. We nearly tipped over a little bit, but it's fine, we got winches. It's good.
After a brief stop, they would drop down towards Aquamist, opening a route that would only be bettered by Team 48, who were tackling the course in the opposite direction. Team Choms were forced to stop briefly after their steering arm came loose. Pritan Patel was celebrating his 25th charge and is always an avid supporter of the event. A quick fix and they were soon on their way again. The huge sand luggers would provide both incredible access to the venue for spectators and support crews alike, but also bring welcome relief to teams that could use them to reach controls without earning expensive road penalties. This year, the gauntlet between KWS, Auto Express and Toolcraft would offer an interesting challenge for the early pathfinders. They would have to traverse along the hill to Auto Express, then battle their way around the ridge to KWS. Team 64 was one of the first to tackle this section. The thick bush and large boulders forced them to take out the winch as they carved a track that would end up being used by a number of other teams tackling this sector.
I'll go to the right.
The Karutu chargers weren't far behind, although they would eventually take a slightly longer route, losing 300 metres to Team 64.
You see this Maui here, this is what is disturbing you.
Team Phoenix Rising were battling their way through too, making good use of their winch. Team AK-44 were also tackling the gauntlet early, getting into their stride as the temperatures began to soar. Team 23, with Rhino Arc chair Peter Kinua at the wheel, dropped down from Auto Express, opting to avoid the thick forest and taking a longer route to KWS. Team Carzone's runners were doing a great job of scouting ahead, finding a relatively smooth route for their car to follow. Enjoying their first attempt and taking on the half charge in a completely standard Land Cruiser, the Pumba Patrol were being cautious as they got a feel for the Rhino Charge. Going as straight as ever, defending champions Team 48 were tackling the charge in an anti-clockwise direction, seen here as they moved towards Toolcraft. The Gecko Chargers were another team enjoying their first Rhino Charge. They sensibly avoided taking the direct route over the ridges and were making good use of the sand lugger to reach the trickier guard posts that were set deep in the hills.
How are you getting on today?
Fantastic. Have some water.
Yeah?
Oh, we are loving it. Water, sweetheart.
Matthew?
The crew at KWS were kept busy with a steady stream of cars passing through. Whilst this year's gauntlet wasn't as challenging as in some previous years, it wasn't all plain sailing. Teams battled with the loose rocks on the approach into Auto Express. Traversing the slope from Toolcraft was deceptive, and the loose rocks meant that crews would have to hang on to their cars to prevent them tipping over. Team 39 inched forward as loose stones kept pulling the rear of their vehicle offline. It was touch and go for the internationals, who almost didn't make the start. Members of the team were struck with a serious bacterial infection, with some crew members even having to be evacuated to Nairobi. However, supporters were drafted in, and in true spirit, they pushed through. Their story is a movie in itself. The Charging Hippos were keeping good company with Team 5 as the two teams left KWS, heading over the ridge towards Gridless.
A little bit on the road and then back in. Where are you going? Okay, I'll get in. I'm just going to chill out here.
Powering their way up to KWS, the King 21s, before taking an interesting line to Satao. They were one of the few teams to plot a figure of 8 route in their attempt to visit all 13 guard posts.
We've had a lot of mechanicals actually. We lost a front left brake on the first section. We've broken a half shaft on the second section. We thought we had breakable stub axles, we don't. So we're on 3-wheel drive now. So
The Fat Rhinos hit the gauntlet, having started at Tyre World and completed 4 checkpoints already. They would set a distance of 1.642 kilometres, missing out on victory by just 8 metres. That honour went to the Frying Squad in their Rock Climber, claiming their first gauntlet win. Lordship Africa started well, setting the 4th shortest distance on the gauntlet. Unfortunately though, their day would end at Aquamist when the car's computer set itself to safe mode and they lost all power. Aquamist was situated next to the event's HQ, where the diligent team of volunteers that organised the event were based. Safety on the charge is paramount. The GPS units fitted to each car record their exact distance, but also allow the organisers to monitor the exact location of each team in real time. Radio communications between the guard posts also give regular updates as the competitors move around the rough terrain, with additional support from the Eyes in the Sky, who kept an aerial view on things. Across the event, a helicopter was on standby, ready to evacuate competitors to the medical centre if required. As midday approached, temperatures settled into the low 30s and teams continued to battle it out. Flower Watch, situated at the base of a hill with a road that followed the line from Copycat, offered some respite for crews before they moved off to the climb to Mantec. The girls in Pearls were making their way around the course without team leader Teresa Sapir, who had unfortunately injured her leg. However, she was still at the event to support the girls and the cause that is dear to her heart. The Fat Rhinos were still making timely progress as they headed towards Mantec. The Cementers racing team were, however, working their way in the opposite direction. They had taken an interesting route going all the way around the northern end of the hill before coming back to Flower Watch. Team Bigfoot was charging valiantly on. However, a small electrical fire had unfortunately damaged their GPS unit, and they weren't able to record a final distance at the end of the day. From the gridless guard post situated in the lugger, it was possible to watch competitors head down the ridge that separated them from KWS. In addition, you could also see those heading to Copycat. The Braeburn Sevens team were tracking their way across towards Copycat when they came across Team 64, who had fallen into a deep gully, rolling onto their side. Yellow flag signals a breakdown. But all is well. They would get themselves going again after losing more than an hour in time. In the battle for the Coup de Dame award, the Bush Babes were once again proving that they were not only the top ladies team, but a force to be reckoned with overall. They would reach all 13 guard posts and claim a final place of 24th. The newcomers Zambarao Heels on Wheels had charged hard, enjoying their first competitive experience. Sadly though, mechanical gremlins would let them down. One of the toughest sectors was between Ocean Agri and Solex, which for those going clockwise started with a steep climb up a grassy hill with few trees to winch from. Car 1 was having a real adventure as they headed to Ocean Agri. Winching down the steep hill from Mantec, they had an electrical fire. The cause was determined to be a short circuit that had occurred when a branch pushed the starter cable against the exhaust, resulting in the shorting out of their main battery. Time was lost as they rewired the secondary battery, but they were able to continue. On the grassy climb out of Ocean to Solex, they were once again forced to use their winch.
That way, no! That way! Braking, braking, braking!
The Bundu Fundis dropped down into the lugger from Ocean cautiously. They surprised even themselves as they powered their way up the grassy hill with magnificent views behind them.
Go, go, go! It's a fucking machine, huh? Huh? He's driven it.
Before arriving at Solex, there were still more deep gullies to navigate. The roving rogues winched their way out of one that had blocked their arrival into Solex. Despite competing in the second-tier modified class, they were going remarkably straight. The frying squad had already set the shortest distance on the gauntlet and were now working their way down to Solex. Despite a myriad of problems, they were still going. The Foley Chargers in their unmodified Land Rover were also having a great day. Making effective use of their winch and sand ladders, they made it through the gully. The Crusaders were also first-time entrants. The UK-based team were in a car rented from Team Foley and relishing their challenge. There are 2 Tiger Lines on the event which are awarded separately from the main competition. This allows teams that have had difficulties earlier in the day to focus on these standalone challenges. This year, one of these was set between Solex and Tyre World. To navigate these routes, crews had to cross both the main lugger and then a steep-sided ridge between the 2 guard posts. One of those teams who is now focusing on winning a Tiger Line were the Smiling Shenzis. They'd worked late into the night to get their car to the start line and were now keen to salvage something from the day. Dropping down into the lugger, they would go on to win the Tiger Line by just 2 metres. Unfortunately, they also broke their steering and would have to call it a day after completing just 4 guard posts. Team 5 benefited from arriving at the Tiger Line at the end of the day with tracks to follow. However, in quite a remarkable finish, they lost out by just 2 metres. Team Hoosie took 3rd on the Tiger Line. However, on the next sector to Slater, they got stuck in a deep gully and it would have been all over. Fortunately, Team 48 came to the rescue and helped get them out. In the process, 48 snapped a rear shaft, putting them into 2-wheel drive. This put paid to their chances of defending their crown, but is a fine demonstration of the kind of camaraderie that the Rhino Charge is famous for. Team 48 would win the Spirit of the Charge award in recognition of their sportsmanship.
They were wedged in a big donga on the other side, and they had a tree wedged in the tyre. And we were probably putting a bit too much pressure on the rear, and it just went the half shaft. So that was that.
Yeah, so you're now two-wheel drive on it?
Yeah, 2-wheel drive. Anyway, that's the way it goes.
That's good sportsmanship though, mate.
Oh, it's good. We'll still keep going.
Tyre World was situated at the head of a beautiful valley surrounded on 3 sides by steep hills. It was busy at the guard post towards the end of the day as teams used the road up the valley to save time. The Hatarius Chargers climbed the steep hill out of Tyre World, and once at the top, they stopped to examine the way forward before deciding the straight line wasn't on, and followed the ridge to the left, costing them a kilometre. Team Moto Moto had been suffering all day with overheating, but were still determined to reach all 13 guard posts.
We're enjoying ourselves, a lot of overheating problems, so we've been doing what we can.
Okay. Car's performing well today?
Seems to be okay, yes.
Great. How many checkpoints you got left?
3 more. 10 done.
The Charitable Chargers arrived at Tyre World looking for a comfortable finish. However, it wasn't to be, and sadly their day would come to an end shortly after leaving this guard post. It could have all ended for Bushcats at Tyre World too, but thankfully the Kifaru Kwanzaa team, who had just completed their charge, finishing at Tyre World, stopped and helped. The Bushcats would go on to complete all 13 guard posts. Team Batuk 59 managed to reach 7 guard posts despite numerous mechanical woes.
I'm not entirely sure. A lot of things have happened.
They had a good first taste of the event though, and we hope to see them back in 2025. The second Tiger Line was between KWS and Gridless. Earlier in the day, Team 48 had set the shortest distance of 1.916 kilometres going towards KWS. Team 26 was just a further 50 metres behind to take second. Umbuzi Bandits arrived at Gridless with an overheating engine, but would nonetheless take on the Tiger Line. On the steep rocky ascent over the ridge, their day ended, and they were left to watch as their rivals went past.
You have a wind behind you.
Team Ollie Choda on their final sector, seen here heading back to finish the day at Gridless, came third on the Tiger Line by just 25 metres. The day had been full of adventure and the car was a little battered.
We rolled it rolled twice, we put it back, we lost our brakes, we lost our winches, we broken some shafts, so the car is pretty damaged, but we got it home.
Brilliant, well done.
Thank you.
Team 57 had had a good day charging in their little Pro Box Suzuki. They made their way back to Gridless to finish 6th overall and 2nd in the modified class. The Roving Rogues also made it home to Gridless. Despite a few mechanical gremlins, they had a fantastic day, winning the modified class and finishing 5th overall.
It's been a hard day though.
Yeah.
We broke a drive shaft to take the diff out. But yeah, we've got around. Good
Brilliant.
team effort. Yeah. Lots of winching. But it's been a good day. It's been a good day.
Team AK-44 had an excellent day too, completing the charge after a couple of years of bad luck, and they would take the final podium position in the modified class. At Copycat, Car 1 dropped down into the control, out of control, and ended up in a gully just 5 metres short. With a stalled engine, they would winch into the final guard post and finish a fantastic 4th overall. After the dramas earlier in the day, Team Husey were grateful to just finish. Aside from getting stuck and being rescued by Team 48, they had charged with their usual determination and would take 3rd place overall.
17 minutes to finish. Trying to drop off the last hill. Pretty shitty, big rocks.
There was plenty of tension as the Bundu Fundi support crew waited anxiously with time running out. Finally, with just 7 minutes to spare, the team made it to join the other finishers at Gridless. They would record the shortest distance covered on the day, but a 1 kilometre penalty for crossing into a no-go zone meant this year they would have to settle for 2nd.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
Another finish.
I can't believe it. Yeah, another finish. A little bit, we could have kept it a bit tighter this time.
Okay.
7 minutes. Brilliant.
Victory for 2024, therefore, went to Team 5. They were worthy winners, having charged hard, taking some incredible lines and finishing with time to spare. It was the team's 5th victory, but the 1st with Graham McKittrick at the helm, following on from the success achieved by his dad Alan, who has stepped back from competing. As the day draws to a close, tired and weary competitors and cars use their last surge of energy to reach their final guard posts. The day then ends with crews heading back to HQ for the end of day check-in. Once again, the incredible team of volunteers led by Don White succeeded in creating a challenging event with fun at its core and taking charges to another spectacular corner of the country. In total, 35 teams managed to reach all 13 guard posts and record a finish.
It was good. We managed to make all the checkpoints and we're finished. Now this Rhino Charge is also a lot of luck. We managed to finish. It was an excellent day.
After a night of celebration, storytelling and laughter, prize giving was held the following morning, back to where it had all started with the initial driver's briefing at the Whitecap Bar. Each year, the event offers financial support to the local communities that host the Rhino Charge. Money is raised through entry tickets, land access fee charged on every vehicle that enters the land, and water that is bought from the community. This year, the Torosay community received a cheque for 8,403,507 shillings. Added to this, His Excellency the President Dr. William Ruto donated an additional 2 million shillings. This money will be used for projects that benefit all the community in the area. Rhino Charge is at its heart a fundraising event. The most prestigious prize, therefore, goes to the highest fundraisers, and once again there were some familiar names making up the podium. Stanley Kinyanjui's magnet chargers again claimed third place. They raised 18,207,800 Kenya shillings. For the second year, Peter Kinyua and Team 23 managed to raise the second highest funds of the weekend with an incredible total of 29,719,940 shillings. This year, Adil Kawaja and Team AK44 took the top step. They raised an unbelievable 175,100,595 shillings. This figure is only 7 million shy of the highest amount ever raised at a Rhino Charge in total, and once again demonstrates the passion and complete dedication to conservation that Adil has.
We have to think about new ways of getting people involved and appealing to the youngsters about conservation, and for them to see that the money they raise actually goes and makes a big difference. So it's events like this that bring them out into nature when they realize the importance of conservation.
Whilst the charge is a fundraising event, it is also a fierce competition. And the opportunity to be crowned champion is the other reason these crazy 4x4 enthusiasts take part. There were once again familiar faces on the podium. In third overall were Team Husey, still searching for that elusive win which can't be far away. The Bundu Fundis again lived up to their name, but would have to settle for second after picking up that 1 kilometre penalty. In the end, the margin between them and the winners was just 330 metres. And so, the 2024 winners of the Rhino Charge, taking their fifth victory with the next generation at the helm, were Team 5, led by Graham McKittrick. It was a richly deserved win and demonstrates that the Rhino Charge is in safe hands, the next generation coming through to pick up the baton and carry it forward.
It means a lot. There's always been a bit of a fear that with the old man stepping back that we weren't going to quite live up to expectations, but this year has been a pretty good reminder that he's passed on some good genes and some good knowledge to us. So yeah, no, super happy with this year.
Every team that enters the Rhino Charge raises money for the cause. In 2024, Rhino Chargers almost doubled the amount ever raised at a previous event, with an incredible total of 325,856,094 Kenya shillings. This equates to just over $2.5 million. These funds are raised for the Rhino Arc Kenya Charitable Trust, an organisation set up to safeguard Kenya's mountain water towers and forest ecosystems. For 35 years, the Rhino Charge has continued to support Rhino Arc with this annual fundraiser. Funds raised by the Chargers are used primarily to fund the ongoing fencing of Mount Kenya and Kakamega forests and maintain the 760 kilometres of fences built to date, including completed fences in Aberdare and Iburu. Rhino Arc is now at the forefront of a new battle that threatens the precious mountain forests of the Aberdare mountain range. The proposed 52-kilometre Mau Mau Road project, which would cut through the forest, risks disrupting critical wildlife corridors, destroying closed canopy forests, increasing the risk of vehicle-wildlife collisions, and endangering biodiversity and lives. Whilst this project is currently being put on hold by the Environment and Land Court, it remains a grave threat and would set back much of the hard work that has been done to protect the Aberdare ecosystem. Critically endangered species like the black rhino and the mountain bongo that number less than 100 in the wild stand at risk. For more information about the amazing work the Rhino Arc Kenya Charitable Trust is involved in, please visit their website, rhinoarc.org, and don't forget to follow them on social media for the latest updates. As the dust settles on the 2024 event, teams are already looking forward to the challenge that awaits them in 2025. The dedicated team of volunteers that make up the Rhino Charge organisers are once again on the hunt for a new location, which will remain a secret, as always, until the very last minute. See you there.
It is the best weekend of the year.
You go to places that you would never otherwise have an opportunity to go to in this epic country of ours.
It's an institution in our family, like something you've just grown up with, something that's like rooted in everything you do.
It's just the adrenaline rush. It's all for such a great cause. The Aberdares and the mountain.
The fundraising, right? That's a part of it. And going through all these hills and rocks and rivers. It's a day of fun, yeah.